Cool. So we have Chris from Oasis Overland, who owns the business and started it quite a while back. Do you want to tell us about the history of Oasis, Chris?
Yeah, myself and a friend of mine began the company 18 years ago, and we both worked in various sort of parts of the tourism field, mainly tour leading and driving. And just wanted to do something ourselves, really. We wanted a challenge, and we wanted to run trips in the areas we enjoyed travelling to ourselves.
So when you started it, what was your idea? Was it to do something different, or?
Well, quite naively, we thought if we take turns to work in the UK 6 months of the year to run the company, then we take 6 months of the year to go and run our trips abroad.
Right.
But of course, it never happened. Once you start a company, you end up being sort of tied down to UK most of the time. But yeah.
So you end up here doing a lot of the admin, other people are having the fun running the trips.
Yeah, I do get abroad probably 3 times a year for anywhere between 2 weeks and 3 or 4 weeks at a time. So I must be more so in recent years. Yeah.
Yeah. What does Oasis look like? How many people have you got in the UK? How many trucks have you got? What sort of places are you going to?
Yeah, there's 6 of us running the business in UK for everything from bookings, operations, marketing, which we do sort of part-time really, and then we have we've got 14 overland vehicles around the world in Central Asia, South America, Africa. We have 2 crew per vehicle.
Right, wow. So there's massive logistics keeping everything running. And what happens? You got the vehicle here with 14 people, is it?
It's 24 people
24.
maximum on the vehicles, yep.
And then you go somewhere and people stay in hotels overnight or in tents?
It varies. So Africa's almost entirely camping. Some trips have some sort of basic sort of backpacker lodge type content. Central Asia and South America about 50-50, using locally owned small, everywhere from hostels to small hotels to family stays. 50-50 camping and accommodation.
Right, wow.
Yeah.
So you got an awful lot of people at any one time around the world on trips and
that's
all
right,
the logistics that goes with it. Blimey.
Yeah.
So what was your background before you started this? You said you were involved with doing this with other companies working.
Yeah, that's my first big trip by myself was I cycled across Africa and then did a loop of South America. It took me about 3 years on a bicycle with a friend of mine.
Wow.
And that's where we first began running into the overland trucks, and that's what sort of first gave me the idea, and then I began working for other companies when I got back from my cycle trip. But my first travel experience was on a kibbutz at 18 in Israel. And that's really what gave me the travel bug, and so I had no idea what I wanted to do then, but that's what sort of got me going. Yeah.
So you're out on your bicycle for 3 years and you came across one of these and really liked the idea of getting involved in it when you finish your trip.
Yeah. I think it's a sense of, the overland vehicle gives you a sense of independence and freedom. You're not sort of tied down to set itineraries. Yeah.
So how did you get started? Did you buy one vehicle or rent a vehicle?
Well, myself and Steve, when we started, we had enough money to buy and kit out 1.5 vehicles. So we thought, well, better get the first one going. By the time we'd run a couple of trips on that in the Middle East, we then had enough money to finish off the second vehicle. So we took that to Africa, and and then just expanded slowly from there.
And you're hoping, like how with 2 vehicles, that neither of them breaks.
Yes,
you've
right,
got their issues.
That's right. I mean, certainly they were far more basic than they are now. Yeah. But,
okay. So what inspires you now to do what you do with Oasis? What gives you inspiration for it and for getting more trucks and getting more trips going?
Yeah, I mean, I think the new trips we try to do an exploratory trip every 2 years, so that's always fun. So building those. I think also just like I'm off in next Sunday. Actually, I'm off to Ecuador and Chile to meet up with our crew. So always meet up with our local partners, suppliers, and I really enjoy going out to meet our groups, the people on our trips, and that's sort of it. I get quite excited about that. But it's I think just sort of being involved in the travel industry. Generally, you're dealing with good people, interesting people. You meet new people all the time. Yeah.
People are always coming on a trip to have fun.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
Some industries you work in, if you're a lawyer, people are coming to you with problems and
right,
difficulties. Here, people are just coming in to have fun.
That's right. Yeah.
What's the most memorable adventure you've had so far? So either a trip you've been on yourself, or that the other guys have been on, and that really stuck in everyone's mind.
I mean, sort of every year we have a lot. I mean, last year one that stuck out was we had a Trans-Africa from London to Cape Town, and it was sort of just after the Ebola outbreak, and the border with Cameroon and Nigeria was closed, And we sort of began realising it was closed as we were getting closer and closer, and that we were stuck on the border for about a week, and we began lobbying embassies and people within Cameroon and the embassy here, and all our guys, we had New Zealanders, Australians, Icelandic, load of people on the trip, different nationalities, they all began lobbying their embassies, and eventually we got through. We were the only first people to get through the supposedly closed border. So that's always quite exciting, and having a challenge like that. Yeah. And generally people who book our trips are up for it because they are in an adventure, and I think if we have a trip that goes entirely to plan, every day as planned, is actually, it's not always unusual, but I think people like to have some excitement and something out of the ordinary. Yeah.
Because I suppose the lovely thing of this, it's almost like you leave your life behind for a while, put it on hold to normal life, you come on a truck and you have a different life with a whole load of people on a massive adventure.
That's right. Yeah.
And you all adventure together, and you've all got to get through it together and have experiences together. It must be amazing. And you all, some days you must do a lot of driving and not see so much. Other days you see the most amazing things you don't expect. And
no, you're right. Yeah, you've only got to look at a map of South America or Africa and realise there's some big distances to cover. So you're right, sometimes we could be driving, for 2 or 3 days, 8 or 10 hours a day. But then we'll often be stopped for 2, 3 or 4 days as well. So it's so if you're driving for a couple of days or 3 days, it can get quite tiring. But then there's always the excitement of stopping in a town or a village or somewhere we can go walk in or try new food, new restaurants in new countries. Yeah.
How long is a typical tour? How many weeks they normally run for? What would your average be?
Yeah, our core overland trips in our vehicles are sort of from 5 weeks to sort of 12 weeks. But we do ones that are 23 weeks from Nairobi to Cape Town. We do one that's a loop of the whole of the South American continent. That's 29 weeks. And we also do quite a series of shorter trips in Peru, Bolivia, Morocco, Egypt, which is from 10 days to 3 weeks as well. And they're using local transport with local guides.
So who's a typical person who comes on them? Because 5 weeks itself, by the time you get there and you come back, that's probably more holiday than most people have got in a year. So is it people sort of merging 2 years holiday or taking a little break from their career for a while?
It varies quite a bit from continent to continent. So in Africa we tend to take a lot of people who are on career breaks in their 30s typically. People who are on gap years from sixth form university, so a lot of people in the sort of 18 to sort of 35, 40 bracket. In Central Asia we take a much broader age range, and it's people who are really sort of 18 to 70 really, and often people leaving work for a few years or a year. I mean, people obviously early retirees as well. And the nationality breakdown is quite vast as well. It's probably close to 50% British, but taking people from now increasingly from places like Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, China, Hong Kong, South Korea, obviously quite a few European nationalities as well. Yeah.
Since you started this, how would you say that the meaning and significance of adventure has changed for you?
For us?
Yeah.
Rather than the people that travel with us.
Well, maybe for you, or maybe for Oasis in general.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's changed much for us really. It's I think we're still running trips that are as edgy and out there. Like the Trans-Africa trip. We're the only company now running a Trans-Africa trip from London to Cape Town, and where it used to be sort of, I'd say 14 or 15 overland companies doing that only 15 years ago. And I think as with sort of the internet era and social media, people are scared out of their wits a lot of the time by terrorism, kidnapping. The Foreign Office have got their maps with red areas all over the place. Yeah. Whereas travelling 15, 20 years ago, you didn't realise if a country was against Foreign Office advice. But in fact, when you travel to an area, a bit like Northern Ireland, say in the 70s or 80s, British people still went to Northern Ireland, but now you'd probably be too scared to go to Paris after a bombing. But in fact, your biggest threat from travel is really road traffic accidents, whether it's in Spain or France or Brazil, wherever you go. And we do our due diligence carefully. We go to countries regularly, so we're pretty much aware of the risks. And I think that's one thing that stopped a lot of companies doing it, rather than maybe people sometimes. I think because our Trans-Africa trips are very safe. We've never had a major issue, touch wood, and we're careful, and the trips go full all the time.
Because in something this size, it's massive. So the worst that's ever going to happen, I guess, is a car will crash into it.
Yes, right.
It'll damage a vehicle,
Yeah,
but you're very likely to get hurt up here. What are we, about 2 or 3 metres from the ground where we're sitting?
Probably about 2 metres.
Quite high.
And I mean, we go through countries, we do go through some areas that the Foreign Office are not that happy with, but we have very good local contacts, local suppliers. We take sensible precautions as well to reduce risk, and so I think in that sense, adventure travel, we're still doing what we were doing 15, 17 years ago. Yeah.
What you do now, I think it's quite amazing. For most people, this would be a dream job, running a business like this, getting more trucks on the road, getting more adventures going, and bringing a lot of fun to people. What was it you wanted to do when you were a kid? What were your dreams when you were young about doing? Was it the travel world? Did that always inspire you, or was it something else?
I think when I was a child at school, I think my sort of ideas of what I'd be doing as a career were changing all the time. I don't think I ever really had a strong idea of what I wanted to do. I think, like I said earlier, when I went on a kibbutz at the age of 18, my first foreign experience sort of thing, that's when I really got the travel bug, and I think from there I began travelling each year up to when I did my big cycle trip. And I think so I realised then that I wanted to do something within travel, but never had any strong calling other than that really. Yeah.
What do you think, of all the places you go to, what would you say was the most overrated country and also the most underrated country?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say underrated for me. There's probably a few, but I think Bolivia is probably one of the most underrated. It's really, I've been to Bolivia quite a few times now since I first cycled across in probably 88, 89, and I go every few years now when I go to South America, and that's just fantastic. Great people. It's I think it's been very unaffected by tourism and by the modern world in many ways. And La Paz is a fantastic city. As far as capital cities go, it's just brilliant. It hasn't really changed much in 30 years, but it's functional. It has its modern parts, its efficient parts. It still has its little street markets. Very safe place to travel in. Overrated. I've never enjoyed going to some first world countries, because I find there's not a lot of difference to being in UK. You still get the same high streets, same hotels. You can be in any hotel in the world once you're inside a 3, 4, 5-star hotel, and the high streets are the same these days. So I find going to developing countries, emerging countries, the most interesting, really. Yeah.
What's the thing that you most love about what you do? What's the thing that gets you most excited in the morning about getting out of bed and running Oasis?
I think generally, travel's about people and meeting people, and I think what excites and motivates me is the people that join our trips, the people I work with, and yet when I do go abroad every 5-6 months, the people I meet, and I think that's what excites me most. And we've built some fantastic relationships over the years with our local suppliers and local contacts. And we've got an incredible network out there, and that's sort of, I think, one of the most rewarding things, really. We've helped a lot of very small local operators, whether it's small campsite owners that have started small businesses. Like one that I can think of is the guy we buy our gorilla permits through in Rwanda. We pretty much got him going when we began buying our permits through him, and he's built his company from that, really. And we've helped some other companies in Zimbabwe like that, purely through business, purely through trade. And there's no handouts. It's all business, but it's basically giving people, our business has helped them huge, and they've taken that and grown their businesses.
I suppose doing this, the sort of people you get who come along, they've really got something about them. It's not the sort of person who's going to spend their afternoon in the pub normally getting drunk, go and eat a load of pizza afterwards and crash out every Friday and Saturday night the films. They're people who are bright, they've got a bit of energy, and it probably makes a really good dynamic having this self-selecting group of people who come on the trips.
But I think people book the trips for quite a few different reasons, but then, certainly there'll be elements where after they've done Inca Trail, people will be out partying, having a good time in a local bar in Cusco, and at the same time there's a lot of elements why they choose to do our trips. And often people ask us, they're looking at maybe travelling independently in South America, for argument's sake, or in Africa is a bit more difficult in some areas. to going with a group. But like, if you travel independently, you go from city to city on a bus. You go from backpacker to backpacker to backpacker, and you mix in with loads of other tourists. Whereas in our trucks, we will be stopping in small places, small towns, doing bush camping, desert camping. So sometimes we do have an itinerary to stick to, although that's loose within the confines of our trips. We actually get into places and meeting a lot more people than I think sometimes independent people will on bus trips, where you're limited to where the buses go to.
This is clearly your sort of passion in life now, and this is probably what you're going to carry on doing forever, I guess. I can't imagine you're going to change it. But in your journey running Oasis and getting it set up, what would you say the most important thing that you've learned about life is? What's the most important life lesson that you've learned from this business so far?
I reckon from over the years, I've travelled to many countries now in the continents we travel in, and I think one of the things I've learned is that pretty much wherever you go, people are the same. Whether it's in the Middle East where we first started, in Islamic countries, to South America, Asia, Africa, don't matter religion, nationality, culture, you find that generally people are honest, people are hardworking, people want to work hard to improve their lives of their families, their children, and it actually hits home that people are the same wherever you go, pretty much, in that they're basically the same good, decent, hardworking people, and that's something which sort of has hit home in recent years. But it's quite pleasing to know, really, that we're actually so similar, all of us, wherever you go in the world.
Yeah. So although people's cultures and the way some people live and the way some people come across is very different, deep down people are very much the same.
Really are, yeah. Which is sort of quite sort of upsetting in a way when you hear the way media portrays certain religions, nationalities, cultures. We're actually all so similar as people.
Yeah. This is a funny question, because I think the answer to it may be that you're not going to. But what will you do when you retire from this? Do you have a retirement plan?
You know what? Well, one thing I think I've learned as well running the company is that you never look too far ahead. In fact, I know if you go on these courses and you're meant to have 5-year plans and 10-year plans, it's like the more plans you make, the more you realise they're probably going to go wrong. So it's more dealing with opportunities open up, and if you see an opportunity, you go for it. Doesn't always work out, but I certainly haven't thought as far as retirement. Was that your question?
Yeah. Do you think there will be retirement, or do you think you'll keep going with this until you actually can't?
If I do ever retire, I'll probably try to keep travelling, and in my own vehicle, and maybe possibly, yeah. But there's meeting. Like I said, travel's about people. I think see some great sights. Go some great national parks, some great climb some great mountains. But it's about relationships, I think.
Yeah. This is a question actually which came in from someone else. Do you approach challenges differently compared to when you first started Oasis? So when you first started, it's probably a lot of firefighting.
Yeah.
But now you've got a lot more staff, things are a lot more under control. Do you think you approach challenges differently?
We still do a fair bit of firefighting. Things happen on our trips. All sorts of things happen. But I'd say one thing I've learned is that especially when it comes to decision making and planning, like I spoke about before, is that we have a lot of skill and experience and knowledge within our crew overseas and our team here, and I think I like to consult a lot before making decisions. I think decision making is something that I've learned. Don't rush into it. There's often no reason to, and take other people's opinions, send other people out. But that's one thing I've learned. Yeah. You can't be arrogant either. I don't think. Yeah.
I suppose something else, we live in a world now where things are a lot more global, and certainly in the world of business there are a lot of companies in the travel world as TUI who've gone and bought up a lot of the independent old sort of venture travel companies. I know a lot of the other people doing what you're doing, they're owned by great big holding companies and they run for profit, and it's a very different thing. You're still privately owned, you own the business, it's your life, it's your passion. How do you think in the future that this industry is going to go? What do you think is going to change with a big adventure truck travel industry in the future?
In overland adventure travel,
Yeah.
adventure travel. I think it's always going to be space for small, independently run businesses. I think a lot of people just go to a big company like Flight Centre or STA Travel in the UK and they just make a quick booking with one of these big companies, not knowing who owns it or who runs it, because these days people often want to just do things quickly. But I think there's always going to be a core of people who want to know who they book with, want to book with a small company, book with a company where they know they can speak to people that run the company. There's always it's the same with the high street. It has been dominated now by the big multinationals, the big supermarkets, the big chains. But there's always space for independence and good service. Service is the key, really. So I think there'll always be a space for the independent operator. But you're right. I think, like I said earlier, marketing is something we've probably never been very good at, and we do sort of part time amongst different people in the company. But it's such a key area. But it's an area that you can spend a lot of money on, and it's a bit of a black hole marketing.
Yeah.
So it's something. Yeah, we're never going to be as good at marketing as the big companies. So they're always going to carry the big numbers. But not everyone wants to go with the big numbers, I suppose.
I suppose the other side of marketing is about getting the word out of what you're doing and making people aware of it.
Yeah.
So if you run a trip, it's nice and personal, it's a lot of fun. You've got, is it 24 people, 26 people?
Yeah.
Who leave it and have a great time. They're the best marketing you could get.
Yeah.
Because they go and tell their friends.
That's right. Yeah, and we run around about 35%, referral bookings. So over a third of our bookings are coming through referral and recommendations, and that is so. Our crew realize that as well. And we're never going to please everyone all the time, and sometimes people book an overland trip it's just not for them, no matter how much we've tried to inform people before they travel. But it's not for everyone, for sure. It's quite a it's quite a rough way to travel on some of our trips, and but generally people I think are positively surprised and open to the new experiences and the people they meet, and yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much, Chris.
No.
It's been an interesting chat.